The silent screams. We never hear transforming pain into power. Have you ever smiled through a meeting while your stomach was in knots, or nodded politely at feedback that felt like a dagger to your professional identity? Or perhaps you've stared at your phone surrounded by hundreds of social media connections, feeling completely and utterly alone. These are what Lisa J. Crawford calls our silent screams, the internal anguish we experience but rarely express. After my recent interview with Lisa for the Pink Parachute Diaries podcast, I couldn't stop thinking about her profound insights on these unvoiced struggles that shape our lives from the shadows. Lisa J. Crawford isn't just talking about workplace trauma and rejection. She's revolutionizing how we address the invisible wounds we all carry. Her work has created ripples of transformation across communities where people previously suffered in silence, particularly among professionals who felt they had no permission to acknowledge their pain. She stands as a beacon of hope, illuminating paths forward for those trapped in darkness. And her methodologies have quite literally saved careers, relationships, and in some cases, lives. We're taught from an early age that professional means polished, that success requires perfection, that vulnerability equals weakness. But what if everything we've been told about handling our struggles is exactly what keeps us struggling? I remember sitting across from Lisa during our interview, watching her eyes light up as she explained. The screams we silence are the very ones that need to be heard the most. It struck me then how revolutionary this simple truth really is. Think about it. When was the last time you admitted, really admitted, that you were drowning? Not the cute kind of overwhelm that makes for a relatable social media post. I mean, the kind where you're questioning everything, your abilities, your choices, your worth. Most of us never do. And that silence costs us dearly. During our conversation, Lisa shared three remarkable stories that demonstrate the transformative power of addressing these silent struggles. Each narrative reveals what happens when we finally give voice to our unspoken pain. Jaleesa Martinez's story particularly resonated with me. Before becoming the public information officer at Vatima, Jaleesa navigated professional environments where she was often the only one, the only Black woman, the only person with her background, the only one with her perspective. Her ideas were regularly dismissed or perhaps more painfully attributed to others after she'd shared them. The silent scream there is familiar to many. I exist, I matter, I contribute. Yet, saying those words out loud felt impossible. What changed for Jaleesa wasn't her environment, at least not initially. It was her mindset. She began implementing daily practices to reframe these experiences, not as evidence of her inadequacy, but as challenges to her resilience. She sought mentorship from other Black professionals who had walked similar paths. The first time I spoke about my experiences with someone who immediately understood without explanation, Jaleesa told Lisa, I felt like I could breathe fully for the first time in my professional life. By May 2025, Jaleesa had secured a leadership position where she now manages critical communications for emergency management. More importantly, she's created informal mentoring circles where others facing similar challenges can voice their silent screams without fear of judgment. One person's courage to speak became a lifeline for many. But what about those silent screams that come from rejection, the ones that whisper, you're not good enough every time someone says no? Keith Flynn's story illuminates this particular struggle. As a sales professional at Ashley Furniture in Asheville, Keith initially approached each customer interaction with dread. The possibility of rejection triggered such intense anxiety that he would sit in his car before each shift, trying to gather the courage to walk inside. His silent scream, what if they don't like me? What if I fail again? The conventional wisdom would say, develop a thicker skin. Don't take it personally. Use aggressive sales techniques to overcome objections. Keith tried all that. It didn't work. What transformed his experience was a complete mindset shift. Instead of seeing each interaction as a potential rejection of him personally, he began focusing on genuine connection. He stopped trying to sell furniture and started trying to help people create homes they loved. I realized that rejection wasn't about me, Keith explained. It was about fit. Not everyone needs what I'm offering right now, and that's perfectly okay. This shift from transaction to connection didn't just ease Keith's anxiety, it made him one of the store's top performing sales professionals. Customers now specifically request to work with him, leaving glowing testimonials about his authentic approach. By addressing his silent scream, Keith didn't just heal himself, he transformed his entire workplace culture. But perhaps the most powerful example comes from Lisa herself. What began as simple skincare tutorials evolved into something much more meaningful when Lisa recognized that her audience was hungry for authentic connection beyond surface level content. Initially, Lisa struggled with presenting a perfect image while dealing with internal loneliness and fears about authenticity. The silent scream there, if they saw the real me, would anyone stay? The turning point came when Lisa began weaving discussions about her personal challenges alongside her skincare routine. What seemed like a risky move became the foundation for a community where conversations about beauty routines opened doors to addressing mental health and personal struggles. I realized that my vulnerability wasn't weakness. It was an invitation, Lisa shared. Every time I admitted to struggling, it gave someone else permission to do the same. This is the paradox that Lisa J. Crawford has identified. Our silent screams isolate us, yet they're the very things we all have in common. Let's be honest. We're living in an era of unprecedented connectivity and unprecedented loneliness. We have more ways to communicate than ever before, yet meaningful connection feels increasingly rare. We curate our lives for public consumption while privately wondering if anyone would understand our unfiltered reality. The cost of this disconnection isn't just emotional, it's tangible. Workplace trauma and unaddressed rejection don't just hurt, they limit potential, stifle innovation, and prevent genuine collaboration. What Lisa J. Crawford's work reveals is that addressing these silent struggles isn't just about personal healing, it's about collective transformation. When Jaleesa found her voice, she created space for others to find theirs. When Keith reframed rejection, he changed an entire sales culture. When Lisa embraced authenticity, she built a community where healing could happen alongside everyday conversations about skincare. These aren't just feel good stories, they're evidence of what becomes possible when we stop pretending we're fine and start acknowledging our silent screams. So, what does this mean for you? How do you begin addressing the unvoiced struggles that might be limiting your life? Lisa suggests starting with what she calls a silent scream journal. Each day, spend 5 minutes writing down the challenges you're facing but not talking about. Then write down one mindset shift that could transform how you view that challenge. It might look something like this: silent scream. I feel invisible in meetings when my ideas are overlooked. Mindset shift. My ideas have value regardless of immediate recognition. I can find allies who amplify my voice. Or perhaps silent scream. I'm terrified of putting myself out there because rejection feels like confirmation of my worst fears about myself. Mindset shift. Rejection is information about fit, not a verdict on my worth. These small daily perspective changes compound into major life transformations. As Lisa puts it, what you don't articulate can't be addressed. Give your silent struggles a voice, even if that voice is just in your journal at first. But journaling alone isn't enough. Lisa's research shows that transformation happens most powerfully in community. This doesn't mean you need to broadcast your struggles to the world, but it does mean finding at least one person with whom you can be authentic. For Jaleesa, it was mentors who understood her experience without explanation. For Keith, it was customers who responded to his genuine approach. For Lisa, it was an online community united by common interests, but connected through shared vulnerability. Who might that person be for you? The beautiful truth Lisa J. Crawford has uncovered is that our silent screams, once voiced, often become our greatest source of connection and ultimately our greatest strength. Jaleesa's understanding of exclusion made her a more inclusive leader. Keith's familiarity with rejection helped him create rejection proof relationships. Lisa's experience with loneliness enabled her to build a community where others feel seen. Our wounds, when acknowledged, can become our wisdom. Today, I challenge you to do something radical. I challenge you to listen to your silent screams, not to silence them, not to ignore them, but to truly hear what they're trying to tell you. Because here's the truth that Lisa J. Crawford has shown us. Your silent screams aren't just pain to be endured or eliminated. They're messengers carrying important information about your needs, your values, and your path forward. When you learn to listen to them, really listen, they transform from screams into whispers of wisdom, guiding you toward greater authenticity, deeper connection, and a life where you no longer need to pretend. And in a world where so many are suffering silently, your courage to acknowledge your own struggles might just be the permission someone else needs to acknowledge theirs. So walk out of here today with this commitment. I will no longer silence my screams. I will hear them. I will honor them. And in doing so, I will find not just my voice, but my power. Because when we all stop pretending we're fine when we're not, that's when everything changes. That's when the silent screams that once divided us become the authentic voice that unite us. That's when we create workplaces where ideas are valued regardless of who shares them, communities where genuine connection replaces transaction, and a world where we're finally brave enough to be seen. The revolution doesn't start with changing the world, it starts with changing the conversation, first with yourself and then with others. Your silent screams have waited long enough to be heard. It's time to listen.